Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the ANC 1B December information session. This evening, we have Kent Bass, who is the recently anointed Executive Director of the Office of ANC, to talk about his vision for the OANC and the immediate activities of turning up all the newly redistricted ANCs and or any new commissioners. Welcome, Executive Director Bass.
Thank you, Chair Turner. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. I know a lot of people have questions about what we're doing with regards to the office, especially following the elections, and a rather robust redistricting process that may not have been that had that much change, particularly in the Ward 1 boundaries and some ward boundaries, but were very impactful of ANC boundaries and SMD boundaries across the district. If you don't mind, I would like to start with the second half of what you introduced me to, is the short-term things we're working on, because I think those are issues that people are really interested in. We have been receiving a number of people reaching out to us wanting to know about new commissioner orientation, when that might be. I'm happy to share with you tonight that the way we're going to approach it this year is it's going to be virtual, mostly because the Wilson Building has a mask mandate currently. And we have about, I think we're up to, I want to say 345 new commissioners, and about 60% of those commissioners will be new, as in having not served before. That's a lot of people to bring together, and it just becomes a logistical issue to try to solve. Do we have a big enough space for it in the Wilson Building? And even if we do, since there's a mask mandate, how do we get that many people in one room safely? So we're going to do it virtually this year and record those sessions. And we're going to break it out into two sessions that, while we will have a specific focus for each, we're going to encourage any commissioner, no matter how many years you've served, if you're interested in any topic, we want you to join. We know that things are constantly changing. There's a lot of new information out there. It might be worthwhile to have a refresher, or if you don't want to join us during the session, maybe go back and watch the recording later. So what we're doing is the evening of December 15th, and I also want to put out there that I got a little ahead of myself, but that's okay. I do that a lot. One of the things we were waiting on to make an official announcement on when all this is the certification of the elections. Who are the actual commissioners? Some races were very clear who the winner would be, commissioner-elect would be. Others were a few votes separating them, and we even have a few that are tied. So Board of Elections certified the elections on Wednesday, and we just about an hour ago finally got contact information for the write-ins that were that won their races. So now we have all the information we need to be able to push this out. So be expecting to see this officially tomorrow. But I don't have a problem sharing tonight that on December 15th, around 3:30 in the afternoon, we're going to have a session that's tailor-made for the brand new commissions. We have 6 new commissions. They don't have bylaws. They don't have banking accounts. We need to get them stepped up pretty quickly so that they can do business. And we're going to go over a checklist and the highlights of what they need to do just to get themselves set up to do business. We wanted to break that out because we didn't want to have that information lost in a larger program. And then on December 17th, starting around, my notes say 10 a.m. So starting at 10 a.m. on Saturday, that's when we'll have what's traditionally considered the new commissioner orientation. And that will go for, I think we intend that it will go no later than 3. It could be over much earlier than that, depending upon how much information how quickly it goes, what questions people have, but we certainly don't want to limit the time based on the questions that people may have. So that's what we have right now. What I can also share with you is the swearing in. We've received notice that that, of course, is going to be on January 2nd at 2 p.m. at the convention center. That is in person. So we've received a number of questions from commissioners-elect wanting to know, well, how do I get sworn in if I can't be there? Any council member can swear you in. I would say work with your commissions. I've seen in Ward 1, for example, I've seen in years past Councilmember Nadeau come to the first meeting to help swear in commissioners that may not have been able to attend the first, the swearing in on the second. So if she's available, she's done it in the past. I think that there's a good probability that she would avail herself to welcome new commissioners at that first meeting as well. But should that not work, is all you need to do is find a council member, schedule some time, take the oath, and get the signed paperwork to us. And the other thing to give you a heads up is we're also thinking ahead to 2023. We know that, you know, some of the things that ANCs need to do, perhaps the training isn't as available as it has been in the past, or in the past hasn't been that available. So we've already set up the dates for ABRA training for late January going into early, actually it's late January. So starting January 28th through the actually 26th. I'm going in reverse order, aren't I? No, it's the 26th through the 31st. So we have 3 different dates for you to choose from. We will put that out. And earlier today, I was working with DDOT, and we're trying to come up with a training series for the various DDOT issues. We know that public space is something that impacts just about everything we do, whether it's bike lanes, bus lanes, street trees, sidewalks. DDOT is a big player, and we're talking through just general things that we should be providing training on, or even just a focused training or orientation on the top system, which I know some people take to it very quickly. Some people find it very counterintuitive. So we need to provide some guidance and make sure that people can actually see the permits that are affecting your area that you may not otherwise see. Going into longer term vision, we do have in the OANC 4 open positions that we are looking to fill in the coming year. We're looking at trying to get expertise in perhaps land use and zoning issues, as well as more legal advice. So we're trying to craft those, and we will, you know, right now we're kind of focused on getting through the orientations and into the new year, making sure that you get everything you need to do your job. But we are trying to look at the skills that we have within the office and see where we have some gaps based on the types of questions that we have received and feedback we've received. You may have already received, and if you've responded to it, thank you. We did send out, I think a couple weeks ago, a request for basic information from you. What's been your experience? What has worked well? What hasn't worked well? We're starting to look at that information to inform some of what we focus on in the training, but we're also looking at that information to see where we need to perhaps change how we've done things in the past and improve our service to you. So I encourage you to take it if you haven't. Only you can tell us how the office has adequately supported you or not. I don't see any feedback that comes to us as a negative. I see it all as positive, because our goal is to do better and to do better for you. So please feel free to share it. And if you're a commissioner who is not returning in 2023, and you'd like to have a sit down, by all means, I would love to schedule time to sit down and just have a deep conversation with you in January. The other thing I will touch on that relates to an email I sent out earlier today, but it does kind of show some of the complexities that we're trying to work on, is your email accounts. I mentioned that redistricting was extremely impactful. And so what we're trying to do, well, when you know me long enough, you'll know I don't speak in absolutes very well. So what we are doing there, that's called self-correcting. What we are doing is we're working with Octo to review the email accounts, because we have to map a lot of accounts to new SMDs. By that, based on some of the questions I've received from that email, for clarification, that doesn't mean if your SMD changed number from 1B09 to 1B08, that's what we're going to do. But if it went from, let's say, 1B01 to 1A01, that it changed a new ANC number, that we can't do that. That's not correct. It takes no more work to change it from one ANC to another as it does to update the SMD. So we're trying to figure out, we're identifying returning commissioners, because our first goal is to make sure that whatever email history you have follows you. If you have a successor and the SMD is very clearly delineated, regardless of if the designation has changed from like one number to another, but if the geography of it, the SMD shape is pretty much similar, then that's a very clear, easy update. If you happen to be in an area where what was your former SMD is now split into 3 jurisdictions or 2 jurisdictions equally, if you have a preference for which commissioner incoming should have that history, please let us know. There's no way to separate out which emails go to one half and which emails go to the other half without reading every single email. So in those situations, if we don't have a clear place to put it, it will likely be archived. That is a lot of talking on my end, and I want to be very honest. I'm far more conversational than oration, than speaking, like speechifying. So if you, I think this is a good time to open it up for questions, because I usually do I actually enjoy having a dialogue more so than just talking to people.
Commissioners, questions?
I have a question on this last point that you just mentioned about the kind of the splitting of emails. So I'll just use my case as an example. I am currently in 1B07, and I will be in 1A01. However, I think if I remember correctly, 80% of my previous single member district has been shifted over to a different single member district. I can't remember exactly which one, but would it be best for both of us to kind of coordinate to see what works best for both of us, and then reach out to you about how the email should be split up, or how can we make this easiest for you, because there's going to be a lot of people that are confused about this.
There are. The default would likely be to have your email account updated from 1B07 to 1A09 and have that history of emails stay with you. If there's a body of emails that you think should go to the person in the new SMD in 1B, you could certainly forward them and share them that way. The way I look at it in some ways is you created the history based on what was important in that area, and you have the institutional knowledge of what goes behind those emails. It might make sense for that to stay together and for you to share the information with the new commissioner on the 1B side of the line. The alternative would be for every email you have to go to the new 1B commissioner, and you start with a new email account that has no history, in which case you might not be able to have a conversation with that commissioner. They would have access to the emails, but they wouldn't necessarily know what they're looking for or why they're looking for it, or even know the background to it.
Okay.
So that, I mean, in the simplest way, that's what would happen is commissioners who have been reelected, regardless of where you're going, our default will be that the email history that you have created will follow you.
Okay. I think I agree, and I think that makes the most sense. And then we can share it out as needed. All right, thank you.
Absolutely.
And then I'm kind of the clear-cut case you mentioned. I'm not returning. My successor has essentially the same geographic boundaries as me. It'll go to him. So should I like email you, or is there an OANC email where you're like sending all this traffic to, or is there other staffer that should be copied?
Well, to be safe, you could send it to Mimi, which is kent.boese@dc.gov. You might want to CC OANC at dc.gov as well, just to make sure that it's captured in our larger file. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely correct, and I think the kind of decision we would want from a commissioner in your position is, do you want that history of emails to be available to your successor? Most people do. There are cases when people don't, but most people do because they think it would be very helpful. And that's just a matter of updating both the SMD and the alias, right? Because while the official email is 1B, I don't know your case, I don't know if it's 07 or what no, it wouldn't be 07.
08 becoming 09, basically.
Okay, 08 becoming 09. So that part is easy to update, but we also wouldn't want the alias to be Eric, right? Someone else is coming into that seat. So we have to update all those aliases as well.
Great.
Continuation on email, but let's say someone like emails 1B12 at ANC. I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole email address, but let's say someone emails 1B12 or another former kind of SMD specific for 1B. Are there any sorts of automated messages or redirects for that community member that is reaching out?
That is one scenario that we did not talk through with Octo yesterday, but it would seem to me that a redirect should be possible. What would make the most sense if there is a redirect is that it go to the general 1B email account, although I'm not sure who in your commission monitors that, but I'm sure somebody will. But that would make the most sense because then it goes to the admin assistant or whomever's monitoring it, and they can decide who it should go to most logically, because in those instances, it's very likely that the old single member district that encompassed, in your case, 1B12 may be split up among several, and it would be very difficult to map that. But a redirect should be possible, and I can follow up on that.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think a lot of people may be even reaching out to other SMDs that are no longer kind of there. They're just split up in between, other commissioners. So I think that would be helpful. Is there a place, and I can pull the link, but that people in our attendees can check to see kind of who their new commissioner is or where their SMD is?
Well, to find out the SMD, while this isn't a government resource, one thing that I found to be very useful is the openanc.org site, because it lets you toggle between the current and the new that's coming into place. We do have new maps that we will be putting on the OANC website soon. We just got those completed this morning. But I think the openanc.org actually works very elegantly, and because you can blow it up and see the geography pretty easily, and the colors make it pretty easy to tell which SMDs are which SMDs. I would say that's probably the easiest thing to use right now to figure out, what ANC SMD am I in today, and what SMD will I be in come January.
Thank you. Yeah, I put that in the chat. I think my last question is a little bit more, it's more ANC related versus like community related, but I think still important. And I know I've heard you speak about this, but What, and sorry if this is like a bit abrupt, but what does your timeline kind of look like for standardizing things like admins and even other kind of documentation like bylaws and like codes of conduct?
So I mentioned earlier that we have this orientation on the 15th for the new commissions. We do have an 18-page playbook that goes along with it, which goes not just checklist, but it does include links to, I'd say, standardized versions of what a resolution looks like, what an agenda looks like, what the bylaws should look like. We put some time into trying to create standardized versions or at least model documents in there because we know that the new commissions may need some of those things. Most existing commissions, you get elected, you join, you may not agree with how the bylaws were written, but you have bylaws, right? So we wanted to make sure that they had some templates or model documents to work off of to get them thinking about it. We will make that document available to them as part of that orientation, and we're happy to make it available to any commissioner that's returning. Like I said, while the focus of that session is the 6 new commissions, a lot of that information is useful to anyone, no matter how long you've served.
Yeah, I agree. And then, sorry, one more question. Will there be any kind of trainings, and at least I think multiple times available around kind of preventing harassment and discrimination?
Well, I would say that we are developing our training program. What I want, this gets into more of my longer term vision. I don't think that historically, the Office of Advisory Neighborhood Commissions has been that strong with training. There's been the orientations for new commissioners. Sometimes there's been collaboration with some of the agencies, but what I would like to see is a very robust training program that goes throughout the year on any topic that is relevant. I think that this is a case where clearly I can see some areas, for instance, DDOT makes sense to me, where there's obvious needs based on the volume of work that goes through the commissions. But we also want to hear from the commissioners. What training do you need? I am not going to presume to always know what you need based on your experiences as a commissioner. So I said, absolutely. We need to develop a whole host of training programs, have them roll out, whether on a monthly basis might be a little aggressive, but I'm okay with that. But I kind of look at it as a continuing education, right? You know, we have other professions where people have continuing education opportunities, and I think the OANC should be offering something similar to you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director. Yes, I just also think it'd be a great idea to follow what Commissioner just said. Some racial equality training, as well as some community management training and engagement community training. I think that would also serve a great purpose as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Kensick.
And one of the, you talked about email, the whole 365 platform has to be changed. So all the shared files, online storage moves with the account as well, including Teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, this time around, it's quite a bit more work. Like there's a huge effort that has to go in behind it. Because you're right. You know, the ANCs have been stable for a decade. Redistricting made a lot of changes. One of the things that we have learned is that because we have a significant number of commissions, or excuse me, SMDs, commissioners, we also have to buy some more licenses to expand just creating the new accounts that are necessary. So you're right. There's a lot of work going in behind it. We're doing our everything we can to work with Octo. Octo has been wonderful thus far in working with us. So we anticipate that we should be able to get this pretty much done on time. Based on the conversation we had yesterday, we think that it can get done over the weekend, but worst case scenario, we may need people to be off email on the December 30th or 29th or something like that, but we're going to figure it out, and we will give you advance notice because there is a lot of back end work that has to happen.
So it would be wise for everyone to do a manual backup of all their files and emails.
I would encourage anyone who can do that to do it. I know that one question that came up was, well, I was going to say one question that came up was deletion of emails. No one, only you can decide what's no longer relevant and delete it. But ultimately, Octo has advised that if we have to clean up accounts, that things will be archived because it's government property and has to be retained.
Can Octo duplicate all the emails to go to the newly named commissioners SMD and archive the others?
No, they are attached to an account, and the account would be updated, and that's how it would follow you.
Commissioner Harris, are there any community questions?
I'm not seeing anything.
Okay, any other questions for Director Bates? Want to thank you for joining us this evening and sharing your vision and immediate challenges of bringing up the redistricted commissions and orienting the new commissioners. And good luck.
Oh, thank you. It's been my pleasure. I'll come back anytime you invite me, but don't expect me not to show up unless I'm invited. Clearly, I love the ANCs. And I'm a bit of a groupie when it comes to them, so I may show up at any moment because I really care about the work you do. I think it's extremely valuable, and I learn something from every meeting I attend. So thank you for all you do. And I'll just say that congratulations to all the commissioners who have recently won their elections and to all the commissioners who will not be returning in 2023. I want to deeply, deeply thank you for your service. It's made a real difference. Whether all of your neighbors thank you or not, I know they're all very appreciative, and I'm very appreciative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll call the December meeting of ANC 1B to order. It is December 1st, 2022. We're meeting virtually. This is the last meeting of the decade of 1B as it's currently defined. Next term will be a new decade for 1B with the new commission, with some commissioners returning and a lot of new commissioners and new opinions and talents to bring to the commission. Madam Secretary, if you'll call the roll.
Yes. Commissioner Handerhan,
Present.
Commissioner Orlasky,
Present.
Commissioner Umar, Commissioner Thomas, Commissioner Kinsick, Commissioner Floyd,
Present.
Commissioner Ewart,
Present.
Commissioner Bana,
Present.
Commissioner Turner,
Present.
Commissioner Farnan, Commissioner Hay. Present. We have a quorum of 9 of 11.
Thank you. Commissioners, you have an agenda before you. Are there any changes to or modifications to the agenda? Without objection, we'll approve the agenda and the consent agenda. Reports and action items. Anything update on the Terrell? Seeing no update. Public safety and community engagement. Commissioner Farnan.
Hi, Chair. Could I actually make a request for the next agenda item, and I will go last in the updates of committees?
Without objection. Okay.
I appreciate it.
ZPD, Mr. Nelson.
Good evening, everyone. This will be my final report as chair of this committee. As James has just said, I am now moving to a new ANC, so I no longer will chair this committee. There's one item on the agenda tonight that ANC Commission needs to vote on. I will give a synopsis and then I will turn it over to Sable Harris to make a little bit more of a presentation. We finally have gotten to the point where we are reviewing and finalizing the PUD for 1250 U Street, which is located in Sable's SMD. They've gone to the zoning commission and had their set down hearing. And we have worked to finalize the negotiation of the benefits proffer that the community and the applicant have worked together on. So the commission is asked tonight to support the PUD as proposed and the benefit package offer proffer. We'll turn it over to Sable to say a few words.
Thank you, Patrick, and thank you for everything that you've done for not only this project, but for ANC 1B. You have been such an invaluable resource, and you will be truly missed on 1B. If you ever want to come back, you can. But I have, through this project and through other projects, I've been so thankful to get to know you and to also count you as a friend. So, but back to the project before I tear up. So 1250 U Street kicked off when my term as commissioner kicked off. So this was back in 2021. It's kind of hard to believe we are at this point, but we are, through many, many hours of community meetings, of walkthroughs. I think calculating it out, in 2021, we had 10 informal and formal meetings on the project, totaling about 30 hours of work. And that was mostly for the HPRB portion. And this year, we've hosted 12 informal and formal meetings. This was for the ANC. I know that the developer hosted probably the same amount on their own. And that totaled, this portion totaled about 60 hours of work. So this is not coming overnight. This is not coming from, no community involvement. I'm really proud of kind of the work that the commission and the ZPD committee and the work that Patrick has done and I have done on this. We went from it being calculated for one zone to another zone, to the buildings in both kind of the main building and the alley dwellings, to lower heights, to also negotiating for and winning on, the alley expansion, to making sure that the community was heard on the benefits that they were looking for, such as a pilot program for a peace team, to, a small lot for, the community to use for a garden space. So there has been a lot of benefits that have come of this, and those are in the letter, the draft letter that is attached in the agenda. But this is something that I am in full support of, especially as it stands today. And I am just very grateful for all of the work, including the work that the community has put in on this project. So, Chair, I don't know if we want to open it up for discussion before I move to support.
We want to get, let's get community comments.
Okay. So if there are any community comments, please go ahead and raise your hand or drop your comments into the Q&A. And I do see the development team here. So if they would like to speak, Hope or Nate, I can take you all off of mute.
Excuse me 1 second. We're going to question. They're saying that the agenda link isn't working.
The agenda link is working. I just tested it. If another commissioner wants to test it.
It's working for me as well. I just dropped it again. Karen in the chat. Hopefully it works.
Yeah, so I think you just have to scroll down to see it. If you end up on the 1B page, announcements page, it's at the bottom.
So in terms of the developer speaking, unless it's directly to something for the motion you're going to make, we don't need a presentation.
That was my presentation before. I didn't want to bore y'all with a slide deck, but I'm happy to create one right now.
Please don't. So are there any community comments? Let's see if we have any.
The Nate from East Bank did raise his hand, so I will take him off of mute. Hi, Nate.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't have anything to say to make a presentation here. I do just want to thank Commissioner Harris and Patrick for their tireless efforts on this project. They put in a ton of hours with the community and with myself and my colleague Hope, who's here as well. And I really appreciate the time and effort that they've put into this project. I've said it a number of times, but this project has been improved significantly through their efforts. And so I am appreciative of all of that time and effort. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Harris, is there a motion to be made?
Yes, I move that the full ANC support the consolidated PUD and related map amendments at 1250 U Street Northwest and proposed benefits proffer.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, commissioners, discussion? Any questions on the motion, on the item? Okay, all those in favor?
I was just gonna, yeah, sorry. I was just gonna say that these developments are never easy, and I've seen that in the Economic Development Committee meetings over the past couple of years. And I just think, you know, from the commission perspective, echoing the support and appreciation for a really thoughtful process that led to a better project. I mean, that's really like why we do these jobs. And I think when this all started, I wasn't sure. It felt like this moment was pretty far away from the community engagement perspective. So congratulations, Patrick Sable and everyone who, the development team, and everyone who's been participating in this project.
All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions?
Abstain.
One abstention. The motion passes to support the consolidated PUD and related map amendments and the proposed benefits proffer. Mr. Nelson.
Okay, so then I have one follow-up comment, which doesn't pertain to everybody on this commission, but this project probably will come back in February to the new ANC just to re-bless this, because changing from one ANC commission to another, the zoning commission will want to hear what the new commission thinks. So nothing will change. There'll be no additions, no subtractions. It'll be just a re-blessing of the same exact support letter that you guys just approved tonight. So just heads up. The next and final meeting for the ZPD committee will be on December 19th at 6:30. That is, if we have any cases that need to be discussed. All are welcome.
Mr. Nelson, I would encourage if there are any items at that meeting to invite the commissioner-elect of jurisdiction for those projects so they can take it moving forward into the new commission.
That would be Mr. Larry Hanrahan, who is here tonight. So I will officially invite him to attend that meeting.
Thank you for your invitation. I accept.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Economic development.
Start with a point of personal privilege just to thank Patrick for all of his service. I really can't imagine having a more dedicated community chair for ZPD and Patrick, and we will miss you greatly. I say that both kind of in the professional hat, but also the personal hat. You've been a very sage advice giver to many of us, and it's really appreciated. For economic development, we did not meet in November. We didn't have any agenda items to cover. There are a lot of active projects, including a new development at the kind of end of the U Street corridor that will be in the new 1B commission. So, you know, there's great things to come. We are going to have one more meeting this year on December 15th. Everyone is welcome. That is going to be a little bit of a recap of all of the projects we've worked on the past 2 years. If we get any new information around the Reeve Center, around Grimkey, around any of the, you know, the housing finance agencies building, we will kind of include it in a year-end wrap-up. But I really want to take this time to mostly thank everyone who joined us in what was a kind of transition year for the Economic Development Committee. We have some really strong community participants, and I look forward to many of them continuing in that role and recruiting new members next year. Once again, our next meeting and final meeting of this commission, we're not going to vote because it's going to be hard to vote on anything, but it will be the 16th at December 15th on a Thursday at 6:30. Location TBD. We're going to try to do in person again because that worked previously.
Thank you. Transportation Commissioner.
Good evening, everyone. Before I jump into my resolutions for transportation, the last ones you'll hear from me, except for James. We have a very hopefully brief presentation from DDOT. I think I see Joelle on the panelist. Joelle, are you there?
I'm here.
Wonderful. Whenever you're ready, you can give your presentation.
Great. Thank you all for allowing me to sit in tonight. And you all know your let me share my screen. Sorry. You guys are going through some redistricting, but it doesn't mean that the location doesn't still impact. Can you see my screen? Okay. So I just want to, and it's not a beautiful presentation. I just want to give you some context of this project that's happening. You can see my screen. The pin drop is at the intersection or the bend on University Place Northwest, and Fairmont Street between 15th and 14th. And it's kind of at the entrance of the Girard Street Park. But how the project was developed was through our planning team, working, through years of livability studies, but also working with community, ANC transportation groups to do tactical, like fast tactical urbanism projects through the livability studies that were conducted. And so this location came to my team, the green infrastructure team, to kind of bypass the tactical part and make it a more permanent situation, but also trying to incorporate greening instead of just utilizing flex posts or the flex posts with the speed bumps. So one of the locations that was given to us was the Fairmont, this location. And so because it had gone through community conversations, it just, this is where we are. So this is very hard to see, but it's just existing survey giving you an idea of the location, University Place, Fairmont, this, and I'm just going to jump into it, and I can walk everyone through this. So as you can see, University Place is down here. The tactical urbanism is to help improve pedestrian areas, with fast situations, but in this case, converting it to green. And so through the team, this in here is will be green space, this as well. So we're trying to eliminate hard surfaces to try and help with heat island impacts, stormwater impacts, get canopy in there. In areas that are kind of a vast open hardscaped areas, but also this area was important because of the connection to the entrance to the park there. So we're shortening up the roadway so that it's this, and not a really, it provides safer pedestrian crossings to get to the park, but also creates this turning movement so that folks have to go slower, providing a safer street, but in doing so with green practices. This is one piece of a few projects under this umbrella project. So in a couple months, or in the next year, you guys may see me again in a different single member district that you were redistricted to. It won't be the first time, but and the timing is strange, but we wanted to get this out in front of you all so that it's coming, ask any questions, have any comments. If there's any questions right here, I am happy to take them. I will put my email address in there, and I can send this on to Sable for you can pass it out, or however you want to administer it. I am happy to pass it on.
Thank you, Joelle. So I'll just kind of start off with comments. This is on the border of my current single member district with Commissioner Bena, and this looks sweet. I love this. I like that these are something that can kind of be put in place quickly. My only question, I have two questions. One, what are the other locations that are kind of in this general area?
You want me to go?
Yeah, that one first, and then I can get my
Okay.
second question.
I'll just go to the Google Map, so because it's easier in context from here. So this is one at Fairmont University. The other two are on New Hampshire, New Hampshire and Otis, and New Hampshire and oh gosh, I'm gonna draw a blank. I was looking at it yesterday.
Spring?
Yeah, Spring and Princeton. Thank you. Yeah, Princeton.
problem.
Those are the three that are in 1A, which will then be 1E and 1B, I think, or 1. So yeah, but those are the three within the that make up this big project.
Okay, sounds good. And then my follow-up question was just that, what can we do to best advocate for something to be more permanent in these spaces? We've seen a lot of these kind of go in, and I mean, I think they're pretty much successful everywhere. Like the cars slow down, crashes are less frequent. Is there a way to make the materials that go in these spaces, which are frequently when they're kind of like quickly put up are like bollards and stuff like that? Is there, what's the best way that we can advocate to make them a little bit more concrete?
Yeah, I mean, I do think working with the planning team, the intention is that all the flex posts and from what I've been told, the flex posts and the, I don't know the technical term. I'm going to call them car stops, but the concrete little barriers. Their purpose is to, if possible, make them a hard curb and gutter situation. That's what I have been told. But they wanted to deploy this. It does go back to the Vision Zero. So connecting anything to DDOT, when you speak with our DDOT team, relating it with Vision Zero will and saying that you want it. I think the flex posts and the concrete stops have been rolled out so quickly, and they're new too. So it's happening everywhere. We're trying to make our city safer, and I just think eventually everything will turn to it, be more permanent solution. They just are trying to deploy this first step, and I don't have a very straightforward. I think if our community engagement person is also someone you can mention that a more permanent solution is what you would prefer. I think just being in contact with DDOT and saying it will help.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bena?
I just had a quick comment. I just wanted to say I appreciated, this, even though it's limited in scope. The traffic calming is definitely really needed in this area. Neighbors all the time ask for more traffic calming, whether it's speed humps, whatever, in these blocks, Fairmont, Euclid, Girard. There was a crash of a car running off the road on this block of Fairmont actually here earlier this year. So that's appreciated. Thank you.
Patrick?
I just want to kind of reiterate what Eric said. I've been known to not be a proponent of a whole lot of stuff that DDOT, but this is something that I strongly support. I walk down the street, not quite a bit, but enough to know that it's pretty nasty down at that corner. And this is, I'm hoping will create a real safety issue variance. The entrance to the park, I've seen a couple of times people drive right up onto the sidewalk, and it's just a really bizarre corner because of the way it ends there. So I definitely want to say personally that I'm in support of this, as even if it is just a temporary thing, to see if it really does create more of a safety on that street's got some serious issues.
It won't be temporary, so we're definitely putting curb and gutter and planting. So this particular one it is not temporary. And also, I guess I wanted to note, like you said, folks drive up there. I don't know if that curb cut is a reason why they're going up there, but that essentially will be blocked. So with curb and gutter, so that will help reduce. Hopefully, I mean, they'll get stuck in curb and gutter if they do go over it, but I hope it reduces them thinking that they can drive up there.
Yep. Thank you, Joelle.
Thank you. I'm going to put my email in the chat, and I will follow up, after everything settles with redistricting and everyone gets in, I will reach back out.
Sounds good. And if you could take down your screen, that'd be perfect.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry.
It's all good.
Thank you. Okay.
Appreciate it, Joelle.
Thank you.
All right. So I have 3 resolutions on the agenda. One is just kind of pulling back from last month. So I'll start off with that one.
Commissioner Guard, there's a community question. I just wasn't sure if it was, or hand raise, I should say. I wasn't sure if it was for Joelle.
Sorry about that.
Bob Burrows, if you still have a question about what Joelle was presenting on, do you want to keep your hand raised and then?
I think we can elevate them.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, no.
Never mind.
All good. Wait. Karen, do you have a, is it glitching for y'all or is it just me?
No, I'm seeing it too.
Karen, if you have a question, can you keep your hand raised? I just want to make sure because it was like going up and down. So, okay, I'm going to allow you to speak.
Good evening, everyone. Joelle, the question that I had is, has DDOT been working with people with disabilities to ensure that these bike lanes and all the new protocols that are being placed are ADA compliant? And notably, those particular permanent concrete structures are difficult if you happen to have a mobility van or some type of mobility vehicle that you need to use to navigate the streets. It's difficult to navigate around them or unload and unload where the locations are. We discussed this in the transportation meeting, but I certainly would like to hear your take in how you all are working with the community in regards to that.
That's a great question, Karen. So that is a lot of that stuff that's being implemented. I would say yes, but that is the planning division. And with each design, it's supposed to go and be reviewed to be ADA compliant. But what I can only speak to is, this in when I'm in construction, during construction, so we have to this project will then go through internal review for our ADA compliancy, traffic safety. It goes through screens to make sure that it is accessible for all. It also comes down to when we're in construction, the ADA inspector comes out. And I guess I'm speaking for this particular project because we just have the ADA ramps that, our ramps are in compliance and with the regulations of ADA compliancy for a ramp. So I can only really speak to, design and construction. I can't really speak on the, the temporary, the tactical installations that are happening, pretty quickly around the city. But I can pass that question on and get back to you. I can take, if you want to send me your email address or phone number, I can get back to you.
Thank you. That's actually, I think that it needs to be reviewed in a lot of the areas, and if it needs to be reconstructed or modified, it certainly needs to be done because there is a tremendous error in a lot of the way those things have been constructed. And it would be great if you all work with someone who actually use multiple mobility devices when it comes to how it's fabricated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Karen. I'm going to answer Bob's question in the Q&A live. So Bob, I appreciate you asking your question. I'm really sorry to hear about what happened at Western Ave and Brandywine. That is a different ANC than ours. However, to the kind of overall point that you're bringing up about pedestrian signaling and ways that we're doing work to make ANC 1B a little bit safer for pedestrians, is we've gone through a lot of different intersections and looked at different ways that folks have been have kind of reached out to us to express like their frustrations with the road design and street design for specific intersections, and we do our best to work with DDOT when it's kind of like a small scale specific issue, and then for larger kind of more holistic block level or neighborhood issues, we've been discussing a lot of resolutions to incorporate traffic calming measures to make sure folks drive slower and it's safer for pedestrians. I'd really encourage you to reach out to folks in your ANC to make sure that that your voice is heard and that we can make all of DC and our border with Maryland safer for everyone, because that's the goal. That's why we're here. Thank you. Moving on, we have 3 resolutions to approve. The first resolution, sorry, I just need to make sure I can see everything. The first resolution is a request to transfer ownership of Malcolm X Park. This is something that we discussed at the October Transportation Committee meeting, and then subsequently had a meeting with a student at GW University who's writing their thesis on transfer of lands from National Park Service to DC. Very serendipitous, but they explained a lot of the processes that people are legally, that the both DC and federal government are legally required to go through, and so we made some adjustments to the resolution language to kind of reflect that. This is something that we talked about in the Transportation Committee. I think it's important to have just kind of it helps to have a kind of like a direct, narrowed scope vision of how the parks in DC are treated and maintained and planned, and by having them under so many different silos, it makes it very difficult to kind of execute a coordinated vision. And so we think that this is a good step to that direction, especially in the knock on wood event that Republican takeover of Congress, and we don't know what the status of statehood in DC will be at that point, and what say we have will be incredibly limited. So with all that said, I'm going to make the motion to recommend full ANC support of the resolution to request National Park Service to transfer the Meridian Hill Park, Malcolm X Park parkland to the Washington, D.C. Department of Parks and Recreation, and to transfer maintenance of the park to the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Second.
The motion, is there a second? We have a second. The motion is resolution in support of moving the park to DC for ownership and maintenance. Discussion?
Does DC have enough people to handle the size of Meridian Hill Park, Malcolm X?
That's we included that as part of the resolution to ensure that the budget is adjusted appropriately in order to maintain and handle all of that.
Further
Patrick?
discussion?
I have a question on what's written in the actual resolution. Let me just pull it up so I can. Down at the bottom here, it says, request that the council members seek funding or whatever budget to approve the transfer of the land and sufficient costs to purchase it. You're asking them to transfer it, but then you're also asking them to purchase it. Which is it you want?
I guess I was just trying to cover all bases. I wasn't exactly sure on if a purchase would be required or necessary, but if it is, to that, regardless of that, we would still be in support of it. I just
think you need to clarify how you wrote that, because it's kind of a double-edged sword. You're asking the federal government to transfer the land to the District of Columbia. That's one thing, but then you're saying, on the other hand, buy it. So if you're asking them to transfer it, which is a process in itself, then you can say that. Then you should probably expound and say, if they are not willing to transfer it, the city would be willing to purchase it, and she needs to have the funding available to do it.
Okay, I'd be happy to make that amendment to reflect that with more clarity. Larry?
Max, thanks for putting this together. I think I've seen from some past jobs that the challenges of having the federal ownership, and I think partnership between the federal government and local government is possible in these spaces. You've seen an example at Franklin Square Park, but it was incredibly difficult and took a really long time to do. So I would just cite that as like an example, even though I think most people are happy where that project landed. I think it's a good example of like, it took so long. It's just not. It's not a good model. I was just curious, have you talked to DPR or Councilmember Nadeau or Eleanor Holmes Norton's office about this? Sorry, you might have given this update and I missed it.
I have spoken to Councilmember Nadeau's office, and this is something that she is supportive of. I think she mentioned in our last meeting even that when she was an ANC commissioner, she passed a motion to do this, so which I didn't know about, which is, I mean, I think it kind of shows exactly how long this has been an issue, really. And then I have not reached out to Eleanor Holmes Norton's office, but I have reached out to Chris Dyer about this with DPR, though I didn't hear any feedback from him.
This has been around for over 14 years, going back and forth. Both everyone has worked on it in the federal and the city side. So regardless of what this resolution says, there's still a negotiation and maintenance transfer that would have to happen on the project, which would be dealt with through the council and national parks.
Yep.
So we have a motion
Okay,
before.
thanks.
All those in favor, aye. All those opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Alrighty. Moving on.
The resolution passes.
Awesome, thank you. Moving on to the next resolution. Sorry, going back. So the second resolution is in support of Howard University efforts on U Street Alley Northwest. This is in Larry Handerhan single member district. This is a resolution that was kind of maybe 6 months in the making. It started off as a conversation in the ZPD meeting about how a historic house in LaJoy Park should be treated that backs up to the U Street Alley Northwest. For those who don't know, U Street Alley Northwest during segregation was the only way for students at Howard University to access the Howard University Hospital. And so Professor Grant, who is a professor at Howard University and member of the ZPD committee, made the argument that this should be treated more as that the house that bordered it should be treated as a front yard, because historically that's what it was for the Black students at Howard University. There was some back and forth at the ZPD meeting. Eventually I made the recommendation that this is something that we could probably take up at transportation, seeing as the alley itself is public land and public space. So this resolution was sculpted with coordination from Howard University. We identified kind of a short, middle, and long-term outline of sorts for how we can kind of better honor and speak to the history of this space. It's going to be a long project, and so we just wanted to make sure that while I was working on it and to kind of have some level of continuity, we passed the resolution that we were going to vote on a resolution that could kind of like outline our support for what these next steps are. So without further ado, Transportation Committee recommends full ANC support. Make a motion that to recommend full ANC support of the resolution to support Howard University efforts to change the context of the U Street Alley Northwest, which was the only path accessible to Howard University students during segregation.
Second.
Discussion?
So this is my SMD and my backyard, just to be totally candid. Really want to thank Max for his efforts here. This definitely came from the community. So just to reiterate kind of what Max said in that space, I appreciate, in general resolution terms, what I like about the language here is that it kind of provides a path forward without like committing any institution to anything. And I know that Detroit's going to have a lot of feelings about this, and I'm excited to be part of the conversations moving forward. So I would urge other members to vote yes.
Other discussion? Okay. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstention?
Abstention.
And lastly is a resolution in support of protected bike lanes on 11th Street Northwest for specific sections that are north of Florida Avenue and along Vermont Avenue. These are in single member districts 1B02, 1B03, 1B06, and 1B09. So for those who, I think most people are aware of this already, but DDOT has come forward with plans for the 11th Street bike lane, converting it from the painted bike lane that we have today to a parking protected bike lane. In the 1B section, they outlined kind of 3 portions of the project. The first section is on 11th Street north of Florida Avenue. The second section is on 11th Street between Florida Avenue and S Street. And then the third section is on Vermont Avenue. The impact to parking was extremely minimal for the 2 sections that are outlined in this resolution today. During the Transportation Committee meeting, we received no public comment other than recommendations of design and ADA compatibility that are outlined in the resolution language. And so with that, I'm going to make a motion to recommend full ANC support of the protected bike lane in the sections outlined in the resolution.
Sir, second. We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Yeah, hi. Sorry. I want to thank Max, Commissioner Ewert, for including a recommendation in the resolution to hold a public meeting about the section between Florida Avenue and S Street. This is actually where I live. This is my block, and having spoken to a lot of people in my neighborhood, they're not as enthusiastic as possibly other places might be about having a bike lane. But so having the opportunity to make their voices heard, I think would be appreciated. I do understand that this is a heavily trafficked biking area. I see it every day. But the road narrows considerably when you get to the south of Florida Avenue onto this part. And it's already a 2-lane road with parking on either side. So it will be pretty tricky, I think, from an engineering standpoint, to put a bike lane in there protected. And it would probably result in some pretty major changes to the traffic pattern, which I'm not saying is necessarily a bad thing, but I think it's important that people have a chance to make their voices heard and weigh in on that part of the plan. Yeah. So I appreciate that that language being added.
Thank you, Dan.
Discussion? Okay. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions?
Abstention.
And so, perfect segue from Dan. We are having that public meeting. It is going to be on December 12th. I've reached out to Sable and Amanda to try and get that on the calendar. Dan, if you have folks in your single member district, please pass them the registration link. I can send that to you as well. It's going to be a fun meeting. I hope you're all there.
Yeah, thank you. Please do. I'll spread it around.
Thanks, I appreciate that. And then the last transportation committee meeting is going to be on Wednesday, December 14th. Thank you very much.
Do you anticipate any regulatory items?
At this point, we don't have anything. There may be a discussion on the ready to play plan if DPR's got their kind of everything kind of coordinated with that, but there's a chance that the meeting ends up being canceled.
Commissioner Ewart, you may have some things from like streeteries or sidewalk cafes with renewal. So just keep an eye out for that.
Okay, sounds good. If anything happens in your if
It'll
happens in anyone's
it's in my that one is in my those ones are in my SMD.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Any items that you have coming before your committee that do transition them to the SMD of jurisdiction. And I think you also have a co-chair that will be a commissioner in the new commission. So that'll be a good transition of those activities.
Yes, the transportation committee is extremely lucky to have Santiago not only as community chair, but who will also be a commissioner next term. So there's going to be a passing of institutional knowledge of how that committee kind of operates, and I trust that it'll be in very good hands.
Can I ask a question, Chair Turner, on process? It's related to this, but kind of more broadly. So if there is a vote at a committee meeting in December, is that something that can be taken up, at the January ANC 1B meeting, or is that something that would have to wait until like a newly established committee and then with the new commission was convened?
If there is a regulatory item that comes up in December that's before a committee, it will then go to the new commission in January. After it's executed the script for organizing for an annual organization, you could then handle business items afterwards.
Okay, thank you.
Something else, Chair Turner, just for clarification, also if it's like a resolution, isn't it up to, like if the committee does vote to recommend, since that's not technically a regulatory item per se, the new commission can send it back to the committee to review, right?
Well, they can bring it, well, it's up to the committee or the commissioner of jurisdiction if they bring it forward in January, because there will be no committees constituted at that point until you formally recognize your committee chairs, both commissioner chair and community co-chair.
Got it. Thank you.
That's it from transportation.
ABR, Commissioner Boehner.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We met this month, and as it's still renewal season, we have a couple items to vote on, and we should also have a discussion building off of what we were just talking about, because we will probably be sending some things to that new, it's possible that we send some things to that new commission in January. So first up, we have Wet Dog Tavern at 2100 Vermont Avenue Northwest. It's in 1B02, Commissioner Lasky's district. So there's two items with Wet Dog we will have to take two separate votes on. One, essentially ANC 1B has a settlement agreement with Wet Dog. It's been in place for 5 years. The provisions seem to be working well. We don't have much community negative feedback about Wet Dog. However, they did, while filing their renewal, file a petition to unilaterally dismiss the settlement agreement without consulting the ANC. And so basically, we've been told by Abra Legal that we have to protest both the petition that they filed and the renewal. And once we gain standing, we can oppose that petition. But so we need to take both those votes. Commissioner Orlowski, do you have anything you wanted to say on this one?
Yeah, I mean, you covered it pretty well. I think the issue with the settlement agreement is it was a very important one at the time. And this was actually before I became a commissioner, but in speaking with Patrick and some other folks, it was pretty contentious because of the location of Wet Dog and the fact that it has a very large outdoor space. If you've seen it, it has a very large wooden, I'm not really sure what to call it, canopy, that's essentially acting as a noise barrier. That was part of the negotiation with the neighborhood, was to get that installed so that it would not, the noise from that outdoor space would not disturb the building behind them, which is a residential building. And it was also very important to them that they included some limitations on the amount of noise that could be generated from that space. And I think that the fact that we haven't had a lot of complaints about Wet Dog is partially because of that settlement agreement and those negotiations and the result of them coming up with a solution that works well in this space. And I'm loath to allow them to get rid of it unilaterally at this point, because it is working. And I don't see a reason why we should change it now when they're doing fine, the neighborhood is doing fine with them. So I strongly recommend that we vote to protest that petition.
Great.
Okay, I don't see any community comments on it.
Would you like to make the two separate motions, Dan, from the agenda, since we've been carefully wording them?
Sure. And if I get these wrong at all, somebody please tell me. So I move that the ANC 1B vote to protest the petition to unilaterally dismiss the settlement agreement for Wet Dog.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. We have a motion to protest the dismissal of the settlement agreement. Discussion. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions.
Abstention.
2 abstentions. The motion passes to protest. Next item.
All right. This is essentially the same issue, but because we were advised by ABRA to protest on both the petition and on their renewal, I will again move that the full ANC protest the renewal application of Wet Dog on the grounds of peace, order, quiet, and all applicable grounds, including noise from the outdoor space and concerns about trash.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to protest the renewal. Discussion. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstention.
Abstention.
2 abstentions.
Okay. The next item is the renewal of Mirror Lounge at 1929th Street Northwest, also in 1B02 Commissioner Orlaski's district. There were a lot of concerns in the committee about this renewal applicant. There were concerns from the ZPD committee about this applicant surrounding their rooftop space and whether it actually qualifies as a summer garden. They were fined by ABRA for operating a summer garden without the proper permit and endorsement on their license. There's issues with them having done the construction of it without having proper permits. So all that to also underscore that there's been noise issues and public safety issues. So Dan, did I sum everything up there? Is there anything else involved?
No, I think you pretty much nailed it. I don't know if Patrick has anything he wants to add from the, I realize this is not a ZPD issue at this point, but I know he had some pretty strong opinions.
I'll just say that this is, I mean, this is really an ABRA issue, but we need to, this is the only opportunity, because it's a renewal, to actually fight them on the whole summer garden issue and whether or not it's valid. The issues relating to the other pieces of it, the DCRA piece and the zoning, is fuel to be able to argue successfully that it needs to be readdressed for the specifics of just the summer garden renewal piece of it. And this is the only option, the only time that the ANC is going to be able to advocate to get that changed.
Okay, would you like to make the motion, Dan?
Well, let's see if we have any, I don't see any community comments. So we'll entertain the motion.
I move that the full ANC protest the renewal of Mirror Lounge's renewal based on peace, order, quiet, and all applicable grounds, including hours of the summer garden, noise in the summer garden, public safety and security, and compliance with DCRA regulations.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions?
Abstention.
Okay.
Next item.
The next item is maybe controversial, but I am going to bring it up anyway. So a few months ago, I brought before the full ANC a kind of a motion to kind of pre-authorize some funds for legal representation on ABRA issues. It was a successful motion so that I could go out to some attorneys and have a ballpark figure of what we are working with. And so I did speak with a few different attorneys. The money that we pre-authorized, so to speak, in September was $20,000. I think that there were concerns that wasn't enough. Upon speaking with them, I think that it's almost enough. So I want to come back and say $30,000, but I want to permanently, not permanently, I want to formally commit the funds to this purpose because, we have the money in our budget, and many of the renewals that we're protesting will stretch into January. And so I know it's thorny with the transition and the timing, but I would like to commit those funds now. For background and for people listening, when there is a protest and the establishment doesn't want to come to a settlement agreement and they take it to a protest hearing, we oftentimes get steamrolled because that establishment hires one of the 4 or 5 very specialized attorneys that represent establishments on ABRA issues. And as much as an ANC, we try and advocate for our constituents. I'm not a lawyer. Many of us are not lawyers, and we need a little bit of assistance. So there were also concerns I heard in September when we discussed this, that ANCs would be abdicating their role in the process and just turning it over to attorneys. That's not what I'm advocating for here. The idea is that we would retain that attorney and we would build down that retainer using them as needed. The attorney would essentially be like a general counsel to the ANC on ABRA matters, so that they could review settlement agreement terms, they could represent us at a final protest hearing if needed, but they would not be taking the place of an ANC commissioner's role in the process by any means. So before I make the motion, I want to open up for more discussion, because I know that some folks may not feel it's appropriate to take this a vote at this time, but I think that it's important to commit the funds, and the future commission can always reverse it, but I think it's important.
Let's see if there's any community comments before there's a motion that then takes it to commissioner discussion.
I'm not seeing anything.
If you want to make your motion, and then we can go into discussion.
Okay, so then I motion that the ANC commit $30,000 to in funds to pay for a retainer for legal services on ABRA issues, including settlement agreement review, strengthening settlement agreement templates, preparation for ABRA hearings, and representation at ABRA hearings, with the chair of the ABR committee being authorized to bill down the retainer upon consultation with the executive committee.
Okay, so there's a 30,000 allocation up from the 20,000, correct?
Correct.
And where is the contract in that? Wait, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, discussion. I'm just trying to understand the motion further. Where is the contract here? You have to contract with the attorney firm, with the firm.
So are you saying that, I guess it's difficult because I can't just tell an attorney that, yeah, we're going with you, and before I have the approval here. So yeah, I did what was discussed at the September meeting, which was to go speak to them, get more information, and then come back again and ask to formally commit the money. Is it not just a matter of we are allocating this money in our budget, and then it's allocated and set aside in the budget, and then we can go and sign a contract with an attorney because we have the money set aside in the same way that we budget for any other item?
Yes and no. 30,000 could be set aside, but in turn, then a contract has to be brought back to the ANC to be approved.
That's usually prepared by the attorney. That your retainer letter or your engagement letter is prepared by the actual lawyer you're going to hire. So
right.
what they want to know before you do that is that you have money allocated for them.
We have the money. We have 20 allocated.
Right.
So if the motion now is to allocate 30 up from the 20 and then get the retainer letter would need to go to the January commission meeting.
Yeah.
So why is there no way we can just make a motion and upon receipt of the retainer letter, like why do we need
because that's basically contracting. You're paying a bill, so you have to approve the expenditure to whatever firm that we contract with. The same would be true. I'll use an example. We had an admin.
But James, all he's asking is for you to adjust the budget that you approved in the last meeting to make it 30,000.
No, excuse me. That's not what he's asking. He's asking for authorization to then spend it.
Right.
On the firm.
Well, basically, I want the money to be there, and then I want the next commission to be able to hit the ground running in January and be able to use this attorney.
Okay, you're not able to do that without a contract to get to.
I don't think the disagreement is over when we vote on the actual retainer letter. I obviously won't be here, but I get what Commissioner Bain is trying to do. He's trying to adjust that amount, and like I said, no attorney is going to even draft an engagement letter until they know you have the money to spend.
Okay,
especially in a body like this.
His motion was further than allocating 30,000.
Then shall we adjust that then?
I mean, I can re-motion if that's all. So essentially what you're saying is our hands, excuse me, let me finish. So what you're saying is our hands are tied. We, at this point, without a letter in hand from a specific attorney, we cannot approve where those funds go.
To spend the money, to actually write the check. That is correct. But we can allocate 30,000 if that's what you want to do.
I guess it just like, then this just puts another delay and roadblock in actually utilizing these services. So
can I mean, I think that.
Hold on a second, Larry. Alan had his hand up.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks, Chair. Appreciate it. How did you look for an attorney? You said you looked at a couple attorneys firms. We had we originally agreed to 20. Now we're saying 50% more of that to 30K. And, we wouldn't want to make sure that any of the attorneys that we're talking to would have any biasness of any local correspondence, which you did bring up in September. So I know from working with attorneys in the past, and I have to say that typical attorneys here in Washington, D.C. would actually work off a word, talking from a community-based 1B, that they would move forward and give us some type of preliminary retainer fee that we could then present and take that money. Because from Commissioner Farnan's last meeting in October, she mentioned we had 120K we were carrying over. 30K, I believe, was going to 1E, the new area, which is leaving us with 90K, and that would be 1/3 of the percentage of what we're going to use for these attorney fees, if I'm understanding that correctly.
So there were a lot of questions in there. The first question, where did I find out about the attorneys from? So as I mentioned, there are about 4 or 5 firms that specialize in ABRA work, and they represent the establishments. So based upon reaching out to other ANCs, to neighborhood associations, I attempted to identify attorneys who had done work representing ANCs or neighborhood associations on ABRA issues. I found 2 of those. And I had meetings with both of them, asking about how much their hourly rate would be, if they'd be willing to just do a retainer and bill down. They both said yes, and they both had very comparable rates. I'm happy to leave it at 20,000 if that is more preferable to people. But what my intent was to solidify that this money is set aside for that purpose, and then the next commission can ratify a letter or whatever. The approval at the September was very tepid in that I needed, to jump through more hoops, and I guess I didn't fully understand what those were. But I didn't think that I should pick an attorney and come to this meeting with a letter, so this just further delays everything. So that's fine.
Do you want to up it to 30,000? I know that probably maybe 4 years ago or so, it was 25,000 as a minimum. So 30 doesn't seem unreasonable.
So
as a budget allocation.
So let me look at my notes here. I'll get your all's opinions. Basically, the attorneys are basically billing about $350 an hour. So if you think about, give or take, depending on which one we go with, you think about 30,000 divided by 350, that's about 85 hours of work. If it's 20,000 divided by 350, that's about 57 hours of work. So
did they give you any idea of the current cases we have? Is that what you're basing this off of?
So what I'm saying is that I did not list with them specific cases and protests that we had initiated. What I want to do, like I said, was to retain them so we have essentially a general counsel, because we don't necessarily know what things that we can resolve on our own and what is going to go to a hearing that we'll have to bring them into. Like if we had, just one off that we knew we needed attorney's help with, we'd go out and get an attorney for that. But we have the highest density of ABRA licenses in the city, essentially in 1B. And the thought is that we have these folks on retainers so that we can use their services as needed.
Let me just add that 85 hours worth of work in one renewal season is nothing.
Right. Maybe we should do 40 then. I agree.
Maybe we should. I mean, that's not a bad idea, but I think
to be clear, both attorneys said that they were very familiar with how these processes work, and this ABRA work is not like their main focus, and like it's kind of like a nice thing that they're doing representing ANCs and neighborhood associations. So they were very conscious that they weren't going to run up our fees, so to speak. They were very willing to work with the ANC to like I said, they're more as a general counsel. So if the ANC is doing the initial drafting of the settlement agreement, like they're not billing us for those hours. They're just then going to review it. So like there is some,
Well, let me interject here. 30,000 doesn't seem unreasonable based on some prior work that we did to look at a retainer. You can always add money to it. Is if you put too much in the retainer and then you don't draw it down, you just have the money then sitting there with the attorney firm. So 30,000, when you start to get to the end of it, you can always authorize and put more money into it.
That's true, but at the same time, you
really
can
get
also,
money
if you don't
out
use
of
it, you can get it back. Because they don't have, you're not giving them the money, they bill you.
Mhm.
And then those bills are
So-
paid out by, and you're also improving the work. They're not just gonna start working and send you bills, you tell them what to do and what not to do. And
So
if
if
you say,
you
we
want
want you to
to-
spend 4 hours on this, they will give you 4 hours on it.
If
Right.
you want to withdraw your prior motion and make a motion to increase the allocation.
Yeah,
20
I'll do that. I'll withdraw my motion, but I also just want to understand, how will the next person, how is this not just an empty vote? Like, I want to make sure that that it actually,
Well,
someone
you
can
wanna-
act on
you-
this.
You also want to, in that, have a retainer letter come to the January meeting and allow them to discuss it and vote on it. And I will say, there was another little problem in what you have as a position on the agenda. For money to be drawn down, it must be approved by the commission. It can't
Okay.
be by the executive committee or a committee chair. It's got
But
to be
so what I'm trying to set up is a system where we don't have to wait a month to the next meeting to authorize money when these things have deadlines to happen. So I want to authorize it one time and then let the commission spend down that $30,000.
you don't have a retainer letter to vote on. So we're just putting 30,000 out.
Okay. So I motion that the ANC allocate $30,000 towards the future retention of legal services for ABBA-related matters.
We're going to take several votes here, by the way. I'm trying to help you here.
Second.
We have a second. Okay, this is to increase the allocation from 20,000 to 30,000. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstention.
Abstention.
Okay, now for January, you want to put a retainer letter on the table on the agenda for vote of the new commission, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you want to make a motion that that you will work with the chair pro tem of the new commission to bring this to the January agenda.
Question, do we need to make a motion for that, or is that just something we can do?
Well, yeah, we need to put it there so it's under old business on the January agenda. So it must be taken up.
Okay. So then I motion to work with the pro tem to ensure that a retainer letter is taken up on the January agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, we're putting people in a kind of a set space. There's only going to be 3 of us on this call that will be in the next commission. We're already telling them when they come in to start that we're putting a particular law firm that they have no study about or haven't been able to ask any questions to be in charge, and that's what we're going to use this law firm, and we've allocated $30,000 to use it, and now you guys have it. Good luck.
Well, I'm
No, no,
I'm
no.
What it
happy
is,
to.
they
Hold
can
on.
still vote.
Hold up.
Much talking. Sure.
Mr. Kinsey, that is not saying that you must use it. You then decide if you want to use them. So you've got to then execute that contract retainer.
Yeah, it seems to me this is just a motion to bring the letter to the next ANC.
To make sure that it's brought up,
The chair
discussed.
pro tem.
And I'm happy to work with the 3 returning commissioners offline, and you can research the 2 firms. There aren't a lot of options out there, so I will happily share their information with you.
I'd appreciate the 2. Yeah, thank you.
And I'm
Mr.
happy to help
Kinsey?
with reviewing draft engagement. with
Commissioner
labor.
Kinsey, this is not locking in the new commission. It's putting something absolute there so action can be taken and not continue the frustration that Commissioner Bain is having with trying to get through all this process. So you actually have something concrete to vote on in January.
Yeah,
And the discussion.
This was coming up, Chair. We knew this was coming up. We know every September, it's the same thing that happens in Washington, D.C. So why were we talking about this in August? Or why are we just talking about it now? That's the question. That's where my frustration's coming from.
well, we've been talking about it for years. We
We have been talking about it. Yeah.
That's a shame on all of us then. If we've been talking about this long, it's kind of, it's different.
Well, I agree. I mean, those of us that have worked on, that have chaired the Arbor Committee and have worked on Arbor issues for as long as we have been dying to get something like this done, and it's just not happened. And
Josh Mader is somewhere rolling over in his beautifully decorated living room.
I think
Commissioner
so.
Harris.
This was Rob Hudson as well.
Yes.
it goes back a long way is the point, and it's actually quite something that we've moved this far. And I'm just hoping that, especially for your sake, because for those of you who will be here next January on this commission, you're going to get dumped on a lot of stuff dumped on you. And I really think that having that support, that legal support, is going to be integral to being able to get through it, because it's a lot of work.
I just want to make sure you understand that this has been going on for quite some time. And those of us who have been involved on this commission in an advisory position, as a volunteer position, whatever title you want to use it, not as an elected official like you. This has gone from 0 to 100 over time. And it's been a progression that's gotten more contentious as certain establishments find that they can beat the living daylights out of the ANC because A, they don't have proper representation, and B, they know that the ABRA commission that reviews these licenses don't really take, to all due respect, but don't really take the ANCs at face value that they know what the heck they're doing. So yes, it's thrown a lot on a new commission because it's at the end here. It's been going on for a long time.
It's not throwing that much.
Harris, and then take a vote.
It's not throwing that much on the new commission. I think we can save the dramatics. The new commissioners can absolutely vote. You have full authority to vote in favor of this or vote it down. This is simply to make sure that Commissioner Baina, who has been hard at work, can move this forward, especially for the concerned committee members. This isn't disregarding kind of the work that has long been coming, because there have been many commissioners before us, but this is, again, to make sure it can continue to move forward. This isn't throwing it all on the new commission.
Okay, we have a motion before us. Let's vote. And the motion is to bring a retainer letter forward to the January commission meeting. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions?
Abstention.
One abstention.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Alan, to your point, I should have been more on the ball with this, but it's a lot of process to go through to run this committee. So our next meeting is Wednesday, December 21st at 7 p.m. I realize that's close to the holidays, but knowing the community members on our committee, they will happily meet. If for some reason I feel like we don't have a quorum or there's no need to meet, I will put out that we reschedule it or that we cancel it, but there are a few placards that probably need to discuss. So I will send out to everyone if that needs to be moved. But as of right now, we're going to meet on the 21st, like normally scheduled. Speaking of transition, I have all of the files and minutes and settlement agreements and placards and agendas and all of that from the past 2 years on the committee. And seeing as I'm not returning, I will package that together for whoever takes over the committee going forward. And I think that, while myself and Dan, who've been on the ABR committee, aren't coming back, those committee members, those neighbors that are on the committee are very passionate about it. So there will be continuity and there is institutional knowledge. So we'll make that transition as smooth as possible.
Can I just add one thing? Commissioner Bain has done just a fantastic job with this committee, and I think he deserves a whole lot of credit because this is one of the most difficult tasks that we have, probably one of the most thankless tasks we have as an ANC. And this particular ANC has it worse than any other. And I think he deserves a great deal of credit for all the work he's done.
Well, thank you. And my opinion is that the whole ABRA process could use a bit of an overhaul because right now it's really benefiting our attorney friends and pretty much no one else. So
don't get me started.
I'll leave it at that.
As a member of that committee, I will wholeheartedly second and hoorah that.
Third.
Fourth.
Thank you. That's all for ABR.
Thank you. We have a new commission who will be seated in January after
Chair Turner, could I just do public safety? Sorry.
I forgot to know that.
That
Public
is my
safety.
bad. Thank you for indulging my agenda change. And very quickly, we actually just have 2 last-minute additions to the community engagement portion of Public Safety Community Engagement Committee. I have 2 holiday sponsorship requests that came in via email, and I have finalized the sponsorship form, so we'll send that out to all commissioners who want a hard copy of anything to review. But these 2 organizations will not come as any surprise or be anything new. First is Common Good City Farm, which we have done multiple sponsorships for events in the past. They are certified 501c3 and they are not receiving any donations from other government organizations for their upcoming holiday market. Their market will be on the 15th, and this is actually something that we sponsored at the level of $500 last year around the same time. It was a huge success. I tabled on behalf of ANC 1B there on the sidewalk of V Street. We had some homeowners from LaDroit Park come out, and then we also had many residents from LaDroit Park Apartments and the Kelly Miller community. We had toys that people could just come and grab. We had food, we had lights, and then we also had a coat drive happening. So that same event is happening on the 15th. I would like to propose with Commissioner Handerhand's support. Thank you again for being a partner in this. $1,000 to sponsor for this event this year. I think that they proved last year that these funds went to great use. And then we were able to have an in-person presence where connections that I made at that holiday market carried out throughout the summer and into the winter. So I would like to make a motion that we sponsor the Common Good Holiday Market at $1,000.
Second.
Is there a second?
Thanks, Commissioner Brana.
Discussion?
Yeah, can we do the same with the 3D CAC chair and co-drive?
Hold on. We're talking about this one right now.
I know. Before I say yes or no, I'd like to know if we're going to be willing to do the same thing for this other chair and co-drive.
I think you have to make your own case for a motion.
Yeah, that's not how voting should work. It's not a quid pro quo.
Okay, so we have a motion for $1,000 for, what is the name of it again?
Common Good Farm Holiday Market.
And I'll just obviously support this and would say that they, just for like on the process side, they came to us and asked us for this, which is what we only got that ask yesterday, which is why it's coming a little late. So thank you, Commissioner Farnan, for kind of figuring out a way that we can possibly support, but I just want to clarify that on the process side.
And they completed the paperwork and certified as a 501c3.
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's vote. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstention. One abstention. Second item.
Second item also came last week during Thanksgiving holiday from the organization Hoop for All Foundation that we supported for their September Hoop for Hope event that is notoriously attended by residents of 1B and also Howard students and alumni. They are doing a toy drive specifically for wards 1 and 5. And then collections in wards 1 and 5. And then I believe distribution to all DC residents who are families who they've worked with. I would like to also propose a $1,000 sponsorship for this specific collection event that will be happening on the 16th. There are collections, happening throughout the day, throughout every day until the 16th, but the 16th will be a widely attended community event. So that is my second.
The name of the firm?
Hoop for All Foundation.
And it's a 501c3.
Yes, sir. And we've done the September shootout support. So we know it's all checks out.
Is there a second? We have a second. Discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstention?
Abstention.
Next item.
Okay, thank you so much. I would just like to say thank you on behalf of those two organizations. They did come in with the late ask, but I know that those funds are going to be put to great use and families will have a happier holiday season, no matter what it is in December or January that they're receiving all this, to make sure that we're supporting our Ward 1 families. Final note that I just wanted to share after being a community chair and a commissioner chair of Public Safety Community Engagement Committee. And then, of course, any other items under PSC we can take up today. But would love for this to be on the record that the new commission consider splitting up public safety and community engagement into two committees. We did have this proposal earlier in this term, this 2-year term, but I think that we just did not have the number of commissioners to support that and to give it the attention that it deserved. Many months I would feel that I was focused on public safety and the community engagement part was lacking, and then many other months I would feel that I was engaged on that community side, but the public safety portion was lacking. So I think those two topics deserve the utmost attention of commissioners to be able to lead conversations and then also to be able to show up for residents to those in-person community events. I know that Executive Director Bass is on, so we'd love for you to consider some merging of support for sponsorships in future commissions. That has really worked well for the ANC here to get small amounts of money, or small sums of money, but out the door and to meaningful organizations without burdening the organization that is already stretched so thin. So that is my final 2 plugs for the future commission.
Thank you. Commissioner Kensick, you had a question.
Yeah, thank you. Not really a question. I'd like to make a motion for full 1B ANC Commission support, that we donate $1,000 to the local CAC, which has been around since 1992. I sent an email about it last evening to all on this correspondence, and it helps local children spark of happiness in their lives during the time that, with they're not much money. So I just would like to get the full ANC support to donate 1,000 to them as well. Thank you.
There's the motion. Is there a second?
Chair Turner, just as a clarification.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Mr. Farman.
I am just looking at the details here. Is the citizen, so this is a Citizens Advisory Council. Are we able to make a sponsorship here, and also would offer a friendly amendment to the motion to utilize the language sponsorship instead of donation, because we cannot make donations?
I don't think that they are officially a 501c3 entity. I don't think that that was ever finalized, and I'm speaking on.
I don't believe, Commissioner Kinsick, I don't think we're able to give because it's associated with a fellow or
district agency,
another DC government agency. We can't give money between agencies.
We can, however,
but we can.
I was going to say we can, however, include the information in our newsletter and pass it on to our constituents and make sure that everyone's aware of that these opportunities exist. I just think, yeah, like you all have said, we can't give money to a government agency. If they had a 501c3 arm of which they were raising these funds for, I think that would be possible. But
also, I see that this event is happening on the 10th, and I'm happy to show up in support from ANC 1B and be there in person.
Commissioner Kinsick, just I hope you understand that it has to be a 501c3 to give money to, or else there is no reimbursement for it and it's lost funds.
Yes, understood. I thought they were a 503, so I appreciate that. And the deadline for the CAC is the 10th, so I don't know if showing up on the 10th would actually be beneficial, but I appreciate it, everyone.
Okay.
I think we would all be happy to keep that in our thoughts of holiday giving, and because there's a lot of good needs out there.
Sure, I am seeing that it is a 501(c), so I'm just confused. I have to, go back and do some more research, but I'm seeing that it is a 501(c).
Sorry, where are you seeing that, and what is a 501c3?
The actual what the organization's doing, the 3D CAC, which they're actually listed as a 501(c), and I could send documentation after if that'll help.
I just have only engaged with the CIC as a subsidiary of the 3rd District of MPD, and they have never been a 501c3.
Okay, so it's actually like a 3D CAC arm of MPD.
Right. So we cannot give funds to another government agency.
Got it.
Okay. We have this motion of if we get the money, we lose the money. Do you want to withdraw the motion?
Yes, thanks, Chair. I'll withdraw the motion.
Thank you. Anything else in public safety?
I just wanted to thank Amanda for her work chairing this committee. There's been some really great sponsorships. There's been some great events with the community, with MPD, with various different organizations. So thank you for doing that and always having engaging meetings, and really appreciate your work there.
Thank you. Administrative, we will need to elect a chair pro tem, and this is a procedural item for an ANC to convene and begin business. It needs a chair or a vice chair. The chair or vice chair, there is no chair or vice chair carrying over to the new commission. There is a secretary, but the secretary is limited to the only function they can do with the meeting is to convene the meeting to elect a chair pro tem. So we're helping get an advance here to elect a chair pro tem, whose function will be to administratively convene the meeting and administer the prescribed script. And that script includes election of officers, the security fund, bank account, signatures for the bank account, whether there's a debit card. I'm forgetting something, but it's purely administrative around getting organized to operate business. Once the chair and officers are elected, the chair pro tem position is eliminated. So with that, I would suggest that we appoint Commissioner Handerhand as chair pro tem for purposes of convening and executing the annual script in January.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions?
Abstention.
One abstention.
If I'm supposed to abstain, can you mark me as an abstention? Sorry. Okay.
I would also encourage you to, and anything that we as outgoing commissioners can do to help with transition, that you want to convene the commissioners elect and do any knowledge transfer or any such call upon us.
I really appreciate that. And, I think I speak on behalf of Sable and Alan, just that we're going to, carry on the torch of this group and really appreciate all the support we've gotten from the members who have been involved for a really long time, as well as those who are newer. Thanks for the confidence for the very short pro tem period, and really looking forward to working in the next couple months for a smooth transition.
Office of the Mayor. Is Mr. Allen on?
I don't see him.
Office of Councilmember Nadeau.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin. I work for Councilmember Nadeau. I have some quick legislative updates that I'm going to just share. On Halloween, the council member announced the introduction of the Trick or Treats Amendment Act of 2022. If passed, the bill would create an expedited permit for closing local streets to vehicle on October 31st for pedestrian safety and fostering community connection. The data shows that Halloween is one of the most dangerous days for children pedestrians. And this bill hopes to address the root cause of the problem by limiting pedestrian interaction with drivers as much as possible. Additionally, the Safer Streets Amendment Act of 2022 has been officially enacted. The bill incorporates language from the Walk Without Worry bill that Councilmember Nadeau introduced last year. This bill would significantly expand the installation of raised crosswalks and intersections, as well as continuous sidewalks to meet our safety needs head on. The council member wants to thank the Ward 3 council member, Mary Che, for getting this important bill across the finish line. And then lastly, some updates regarding homelessness. In 2021, the council member, Brianna Doe, along with council member Charles Allen and Janice Lewis George, introduced a budget amendment that provided $65 million in new additional funding for housing resources. As chair of the Committee on Human Services, the council member knows that housing ends homelessness, and she is proud to author the provision that made way for the largest ever budget in a single fiscal year to fund more resources to end homelessness for more than 3,400 residents. There is also an update regarding the council members' U Street Safety Initiative. This was actually just uploaded this evening around 6 p.m. And I haven't had the full chance to look over it. But there are the initiative incorporated a lot of feedback from business owners, residents, and community leaders. In total, we had 25 people interviewed, 50 residents and business owners involved in town halls and focus groups, as well as more than 300 survey respondents. The four main building blocks that will inform the report is that the first being create and fund a place management entity. The second is pilot and nightlife venue safety initiative. The third is pilot and enhance nightlife zone clean team. And lastly, invest in a greater U Street public realms infrastructure and mix of uses. The next step will be further feedback and finalizing the report and recommendations, and then eventually incorporating our findings into upcoming policy and budget investments. So stay tuned over the next few weeks for the release of the final report. I'm going to drop my email as well as the current report into the chat. If anyone is interested in providing further feedback, I'm happy to answer or pass along to the correct staff member in my office. And those are all my updates.
Commissioner Kinsey.
Thanks for the updates. With the city nightlife that you're discussing, is that going to work with the current new nominee who's doing city nightlife with the mayor's office?
Yes, so we are already we actually have monthly meetings with them already, separately from the U Street Safety Initiative that the council member is involved with. But yes, we are in regular communication with the mayor's office of nightlife and culture.
Thank you, Kevin. Commissioners, announcements? Commissioners, announcements?
I will just give a quick announcement on behalf of my work with the commission over the past years. And I remember this meeting 2 years ago when many outgoing commissioners were bidding them their farewells. And I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who attended a meeting in person, virtually, said hello on the street, all of the above, and also, of course, my fellow commissioners who I've had the honor of serving with for the past year as commissioner, but then for the past over 3 years as just an engaged community member. Every minute has been invaluable, and I don't expect that you won't see me again. So don't forget this face because it'll be coming back up just in the attendees section and also at our events. I just look forward to continuing to collaborate and make sure that government is actually showing up for the people that we serve. Thank you.
I know Commissioner Bain has got his hand up, so I'll go next.
Just a quick announcement. Last night, I had a meeting on the Faircliff redevelopment project on 14th Street in between Faircliff and Euclid. Everyone that attended that, I'll be sending them the recording and the slides. So basically, since I've updated people before, basically, they're about to start demolition. The last utility disconnects were this week, and they're getting their raise permit. And so that will start imminently here in December, January. The developers are standing up a website where they will be posting the updates as each stage of the project goes on, and you can sign up for email updates. I'm also passing along my email list to the commissioner in 1A who will now represent the site because it will no longer be in 1B, it'll be in 1A. But in the meantime, over the next month, if you have questions about Faircliff, get in touch with me. And that's my announcement. And I'll just kind of echo Amanda, and that I am one of the commissioners that's not returning. It's been a really learning experience of the 2 years, and I think DC is unique in the way that we have hyperlocal government, and I saw another ANC commissioner say something along the lines of, democracy is for those who show up, and I think that's really true with the ANC. There's a lot of meetings that happen, and to all the 9 attendees that are still on tonight, you show up and you're engaged, and I really appreciate that. Thanks to all my fellow commissioners. Thank you, Chair Turner, for leading us. Much appreciated. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Orlowski.
So as long as I've been here, which is now going on 4 years, we've always had this sort of tradition, and Amanda sort of kicked it off and Eric continued it, of expressing our appreciation for those that will not be back and the work that they've done. And this is a unique time for that. There's a lot of us that are not going to be back, and it's hard to recognize everyone. So I just want to recognize a couple of people that were invaluable to this ANC and served it for a very, very long time, much longer than I have or anybody else here. And I feel like they deserve a lot of credit. First of which is Mr. Patrick Nelson, who, without his knowledge, I don't know how this runs, to be quite honest. I don't know how any of us would have ever learned anything without Patrick. He is just a wealth of knowledge and experience that I don't think is replaceable. So I do hope and pray that we'll all be okay without him, but I'm worried. But anyway, a sincere thank you, especially personally for me, because I learned so much from Patrick. My first committee that I chaired co-chaired was the ZPD committee with Patrick. And I basically sat there and said nothing because I knew that I didn't know anything, and I was much better served by learning from somebody like Patrick. That being said, the second person I want to recognize is James Turner, our chair. James has been on this commission for, I don't know, forever, 100 years. I'm not sure. A long
decade,
time.
definitely.
long time. And his list of accomplishments is just far too long to get into. We'll be here all night if we were to go through all of it. But I just want to say, as a community member and as someone who's gotten to serve as Chair Turner's vice chair for the last 2 years, that it has been a true honor, and your friendship has meant just an unbelievable amount. And you also, and your knowledge and experience, will be extremely missed. And I wish 1A, is it? Best of luck. I'm sure you'll bring all of that to them, and they'll be doing excellent work, as well as Patrick. I'm sure Patrick is going to be helping out his new ANC as well.
Commissioner Kinsick.
Yeah, actually, I just want to piggyback off that and say, Chair, you've been very patient with me. I do appreciate you. You do need a decoder when you speak to you, so I hope that in 1A they have those decoders. But I do appreciate all of your experience and your patience with me. And when I've needed you, you've gotten back to me, so I appreciate that. The last thing I just want to ask, only because I keep seeing this being brought up about the financial report, and I don't really fully understand it, in regards to, it seems like there's a really hidden secret, some gem of something I'm not understanding, but this will be available online. We voted on the QFRs that need approval. Any report can be discussed via email. Is there something why we can't talk about it now? Commissioner Farnan?
Hi, I'm just not sure what other report you want, because we've done the report. All the quarterly financial reports have been voted on, and the information is public. What else? What other questions could I answer?
Well,
Yes, okay.
Commissioner Kensick, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I thought Commissioner Thomas was saying something. I'm not finding the reports. I noticed that you keep saying they're voted on and approved, and the ONAC has it. Like, I'm just trying to find like specifics. And so I guess I can't speak for Karen Gal, but she's asked that a couple times. I know that a couple people in my building have asked, and I'm just, I'm not sure. So
Okay, I can send you all the PDFs of the quarterly financial reports that we've submitted.
Thank you.
Also, Commissioner Kensick, Commissioner Harris did drop in a link in response to Karen's question in the Q&A. It disappears after that, so you have to go to a different tab in case you didn't see it.
Let's go to Commissioner Harris.
Yeah, I didn't want to end on that note because we have shared several times, not just Commissioner Farnan, with the reports. It's on the ANC website. You've even seen them because you have asked specifically about line items. So we have been very forthcoming and transparent as we need to be as a government body. But I want to go back to to piggyback off of what Commissioner Lasky had said, because I think we should end on those notes. Since this is our last official commission meeting as ANC 1B looks today. First, I think, Dan, I want to thank you. I think sometimes we butted heads on different matters, but I have always and continue to appreciate your insight and your thoughtfulness on how to approach things. And so, I will probably still reach out to you because some of the new 1B12 boundaries, I think or not even 1B12, 1B08, I think you're becoming one of my
I live in your SMD now.
So I may be reaching out on ABRA matters, but thank you for kind of everything that you've done. I really appreciate it, especially your calm demeanor. Second is Commissioner Thomas, my partner in crime, the person who has introduced me to so many people in the community. This is our last commission meeting as commissioners together, but I will always remember the day where, and this is on the record, where we took off the outlet, the metal plate that was covering the outlet for the Reeves Center. We went over to Ace Hardware and bought screwdrivers to take it off, and neither one of us are electricians, so we probably shouldn't have done that, but we did. But you have been such a pillar and someone who I know that I can always count on to help anytime there's an emergency, but also in times of joy where, there was that block party that we had or that you had and that you organized. I'm so happy to call you a neighbor, and especially Jasmine too. Jasmine is Deborah's daughter. And then Patrick, I'm gonna tear up because I so appreciate you in the moments that we've had headaches with not just 1250 U Street, but in other projects. I don't know what to say other than I appreciate you and glad that we are friends and you can't get rid of me.
I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be.
I know you aren't. I know you aren't. And Chair Turner. Oh my gosh. And I need to circle back to the last person. But Chair Turner, we've had many laughs and you've taught me so much about being a good commissioner and being an ethical commissioner and understanding the basics. And it is something I will continue to take with me. I will continue to call you, share pictures of Essie with you, and we will be friends for life, whether you like it or not, just like pretty much everyone on the call. And I don't know what more to say, but last, officially, but certainly not least, is Amanda. You were the first person on ANC 1B to reach out to me, to call me, to congratulate me when I won in 2020. And even though you started as commissioner in July of 2021, you have always been a commissioner and you always will be, and such a great community member. And I can't wait to see what is next. And I know you will always be there for cleanups and for other things. So thank you. Okay, I'm done with my
There had to be a tear.
emotions.
I appreciate you so much.
Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas.
Okay, sorry about that. First of all, let me just say that I appreciate the relationships that I built while I was serving again. As most of you all know, it's been 20 some years that I actually was on the ANC. For the new folks coming in, welcome to the neighborhood, because it is pleasantly sometimes keeps you happy, keeps you going, and it reminds you of why you decided to become an ANC. Let's start from the bottom up. Our new representative will be 05, Alan. We started out as just having conversations about the neighborhood and what needs to, need to happen. And I want to still reach out to you and let you know that you can reach out to me as well. If there's something if something should come up, information or whatever, I'll still be around and I'm still open and available to assist you in your now SMD. James, I wanted to cry when I thought you were leaving. But I understand, some things are beyond our control. But I appreciate you. I appreciate you as a friend. And it won't be the last of me, as well as I know it won't be the last of you. So I'll see you later. Sable, the same to you. I'll be around. I'm just a phone call away. Same thing for Eric, a phone call away. And I can go on and on just to let folks know I chose my health over politics this go round. I had to. And so things I know will be changing. But again, I'll be around. I won't be gone. And any of you all can reach out at any time. I appreciate the relationships that I built, the friendships, so on and so forth. So I'll see all of you later. And not goodbye, just later.
Okay, I will end with, I was here at the beginning of 1B as it is today. I'm here at the end. And it's been a road with many accomplishments and challenges, far more accomplishments of this commission over the decade, and how the community has improved and evolved, and economic development, home development, community development. And I believe that 1B has played a significant role in that. And I'm honored to have been a commissioner. And more importantly, I've made some very good friends. You may think that we were enemies arguing at commission meetings, but we became very good friends and go to weddings, help people move into new homes, dinner party, a whole lot of things where you make these relationships that just last forever. And that has been the most important and the most satisfying, is the people that I've met and call friends from the commission. So with that, we end this decade of 1B and wish the commissioners the very best going into the new decade. There's going to be a lot of work, a lot of development, a lot of activity. And feel free to reach out to any of us here today or in the past who can provide guidance and any help. Have a very happy holiday and a happy new year. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.